Hi, I'm Paris, and I'm back up in Dallas for another week of proton beam therapy radiation treatment. I thought I would tell you a little bit about my trip up here yesterday, a little bit different than previous weeks. To put it in context, a few weeks ago had an issue while I was up here in Dallas with my left eye, had some floaters appear and had a little flashing when I moved my eye, which is scary because I know my mother had this and you got to be careful it's not a retina detachment. So went to an ophthalmologist to see about that. I had basically a big floaty thing that I dubbed the jellyfish, because when I would move my eye, when I move the eye here, it would swim over. It was sort of a dark thing with some little things hanging from it. It looked like little tendrils that hang off a jellyfish. So move my eye over, it would swim over here, move my eye back this way. So I had this jellyfish swimming around. I had some other dots and the flashing. Turns out it was a thing you get when you're older. Apparently your vitreous gel can pull away from the back of the eye. If it does pull the retina, that's when you can get the retina detachment, and it is very concerning. Anyway, I had my follow-up appointment last week about that and with a retina specialist, and they said, no, looks like it's in good shape, but you're going to have those floaters still. May take a couple months, especially for the bigger ones, like my jellyfish friend who's always in front of this eyeball. Now, at that initial appointment, I went in to see about this eye, but they noticed something on this eye. Maybe you can notice something here too. That's what this story kind of revolves around. So in this eye, I had 6 weeks or so back, a little sty, and it had the little bump and it got red and was uncomfortable and then sort of passed, but it never really healed up. And I've noticed since having the chemo, stuff doesn't heal up like it used to. It takes 2 to 3 times as long for things to heal. I'm hoping as I get more post-chemo that will change. But I just assumed this was a sty, and the fact that there was still a bump there and some redness and so forth was just the slow healing process. But the eye doctor who saw me, after looking at this eye, looked at this eye and said, really, this is the one I think you need to get checked out. And they went on to Google and did a search for basal cell carcinoma eyelid. And I thought it was kind of funny because, I could do this myself. I have done this myself, where you go online and you look for issues you may have and try to diagnose yourself. But this eye doctor brought up these images and says, you see here, you have the eyelash loss, and you have it's redder inside with all the blood vessels that can be feeding the cancer, and it has a little dip shape, and so it looks awfully similar to that. And I'm not the one to diagnose that. You need to go to your dermatologist. So going into the office yesterday morning for the exam, tried to make the case for why it was a sty and it was really nothing to worry about. Well, my dermatologist looked at it and said, yeah, probably that's what it is. However, with your history, having a previous basal cell carcinoma, the prostate cancer, we want to be cautious. She said, but I don't want you to have to go through a biopsy on this unless we really need to. I'm going to call in another doctor to check. So got another doctor in who looked at it and said, yeah, with your history, I really think it would be prudent to do the biopsy of it to make sure. So crap. They got to do it. They got to do it. I've been through the prostate biopsy a few months back. I can get through this, but I was so nervous. Anything with the eyes. Okay, so they have me recline and put my head back. They had 2 people, one to help sort of hold me in position, and then the doctor who was doing the rest of it. So came in with the needle and the lidocaine around. It's in the bottom part of this eyelid. I'm imagining you can see the cauterized scab that's there now. I haven't got to the cauterization. So lidocaine, the thing, okay, with the prostate biopsy, which was very unpleasant, not as bad as I was thinking, because I went online and Googled about it and had myself all worked up how terrible it was going to be. It wasn't as bad as all that, but it was not a pleasant experience. But at least it was down there. It was away. You can close your eyes and try to think about something else, and until it passes and it's done. With the eye thing, they're holding your eye open. There's no way you can't see what's going on. So there's no other place you can go to. So they gave me a stress ball to hold on to, and I was working it pretty good. They did the lidocaine shots, which they have to do several around the area, and I think hit a nerve at one point because I was stoic and silent through it, and I'd prefer to say I grunted at one point rather than I whimpered at one point, because the grunting sounds more like a manly, "Excuse me, doctor, but I believe I'm reaching the limit of my tolerance for this pain." Anyway, continue to push around and get the light. Well, of course, it's better they put more lidocaine in, because otherwise you're going to feel what they do next. The doctor came at it from one side and kind of a different angle. I'm seeing all this stuff in my eye. And then they actually switched sides with a hold the patient down person and tried from over there. And they said, yeah, it's so hard to get a good angle on this. And they talked a little, decided that scissors were the way to go. So they came back over to this side. And yeah, they came in with the scissors and had to snip several pieces of the inner eyelid and right along the edge there. Oh, and I thought, okay, once they snipped the last of it and pulled the pieces out to send out, okay, all right, we're done. Well, of course, now it's bleeding. And they're dabbing things in there, and I'm trying to keep my focus at infinity, so I'm not able to really focus on what they're pulling off my eyelid, but it's red stuff, and they're putting some more, and they said, yeah, we're going to have to cauterize it. There was more grunting that happened with that. It finally finished. And the doctor stepped back to package up the samples, I guess, and all that stuff. But hold me down. It was still holding me down. And I realized my arms were just sort of involuntarily shaking. I think it's that post-adrenaline, like the fight or flight response. You get all the adrenaline that pumps out in that super high tense situation. At this point, I basically had a freshly created scab right there on the eyelid and a little bit on the inside of the eyelid. So when I blinked, it was like, I said, whoa, that's scratchy. Is this going to do any permanent damage to my eyeball and scratch it up? And so they said, no, that won't be the case, but we will put cream on the eyelid, and it will kind of get in your eye, but it will help to lubricate it. Then they rubbed some cream around, and that was good. It did help a lot. I could still feel it. It was still an irritant, the bump on the inside of the eyelid, so I'm still blinking a lot. And then the cream's all over, so it's sort of like, when they put Vaseline on a lens, it sort of makes everything soft and gets rid of the detail, like the wrinkles. I'm walking out of the dermatologist, winking at everybody in the waiting room. I'm off now. I've got to drive up to Dallas, which from Austin is about a 3.5 hour drive. Well, I'm trying my best to drive, but I'm doing this the whole time, smearing that cream around even more in my eyeball. So the world does look kind of nice, and it has that Vaseline on lens effect going on there. But because I can't see as well with this eye is having to do all the work of darting back and forth, looking at the mirrors, looking at the traffic. So now I've got the jellyfish in this eye, swimming this way. This way. One other thing I should mention is, since I got these floaters, they occasionally, especially moving the eye quick to look at something, you'll see something. If you've had these, I'm sure you have this experience. You swear you see something out of the corner of your eye. Some little thing, oh, is that a bug or something on the floor or a shadow? It makes you think there are things there that aren't there. So I'm in the car driving, and I notice, move my eyes around, I notice a fly. I swear there's a fly there. But I think, well, it's probably not really a fly, but if it is a fly, oh, I hate it, the fly, because I just got this fresh wound on my eyeball, and I know that this fly that's been spending the day walking around on poop is going to come into my eye. I just know it. So I think there's a fly, but I can't be 100% sure. But in any case, I'm putting the windows down, and I'm flapping around trying to get thing to fly up from wherever it might have landed to fly out the windows. But after a couple minutes, now the wind's pouring in, making this eye even drier with the wind blowing into it. So I'm going like this real good, trying to stay. The Interstate 35 is a very heavily trafficked road. Pretty much all the truck traffic that comes up bringing things from Mexico. So I'm with all the trucks and all the traffic. And I decide I can't be focusing my attention on this potentially imaginary fly. So all right, there is no fly. Put the windows up and driving, and within the next couple of minutes, I swear I see a black thing over here. But okay, it's just my imagination. Well, the black thing landed on the dashboard, and I can look right at it. It's a fly. There is a fly in the car now, and he's looking right at me. And I'm looking at him, and with this eye, he's actually looking pretty good because he's got that soft effect going on. And in this eye, my zoological eye, now there's a fly and the jellyfish. And so I want to get to fly out, but I'm driving 75 miles an hour down the highway, so put all the windows down and I'm flapping and trying to watch and looking at the mirrors and flapping. And after about 5 minutes, I figure, okay, he must have flown out the windows by this time. So put the windows up and let everything calm down in the eyes. And it may be anticlimactic, but I actually got to Dallas okay, winking along the whole way. Now when the week starts like that, sometimes you don't want to know how the week's going to end, but I'll see, and if something noteworthy happens, I'll let you know on the next review.
There are so many choices and you don't want to stress. You want your health food at home, receiving only the best. That's what we're here for, we give honest reviews. Paris DX.